Hello, hello YouTube. How are you doing this fine morning? Well, it's morning for me at least at the time of recording this. We're doing a roar build. And are the stats optimized? Heck no, they're never optimized. I've decided my builds will never be optimized so that people can't tell me my builds are unoptimized, because I know they're unoptimized. Heck, this build will probably perform just about the same as long as you have 54 strength and you're two-handing your weapons, with the exception of maybe the Starfist. But we're going to use 4 different roar weapons across this video. We've got the good old heavy great sword with Braggart's Roar. We have the Knight Rider's halberd with Braggart's Roar, and then we have the Stone Club and the Starfist, both with Barbaric Roar. And so we'll be kind of juggling those throughout this video today. So if you wanted to, you could take a couple points out of strength. You could probably hit that 60 vigor that I'm just shy of. And I didn't figure out how much endurance I needed, but I was just a little short if I wanted to have 102, 103 poise, and then also be able to wield the great sword with the Highlander axe on the hip, because that also buffs your roar attacks. We're running the good old axe talisman as well as the roar medallion to make those charged heavy roar attacks even better, and then to top it off we'll be munching on exalted flesh, and then we have the charged attack damage in our physics so that we can pop people for 1795 if they get counter hit. And for those of you at home who may not remember, counter hits happen when piercing damage hits another person in the middle of their attack animation. I think it counts for enemies as well as other players. Your puncture or piercing resistance drops while you're in the middle of an attack. So if some piercing attack hits you while you're in the middle of the attack, it feels like it does bonus damage. In reality, you just have lower resistances and therefore the number's higher, which I guess is a way of getting bonus damage. But I had good fun with this roar build. I've never tried out the roars, really. Not a whole lot. And I must say, while it's hard to land them, when you do land them, it feels great. It's just a skill issue on my part, of course. But once you do land them, you do crazy damage, you win trades, it's great. I have recently fallen into a little rut of sorts, where if I'm dealing with somebody who has 200, 250, 300 ping, just really high latency that they're hard to deal with, I found myself going through a little rotation of weapons. I use the Antspur Rapier with Rot to rot them, and then I go to the Godskin Stitcher that's poison infused with Poison Mist to poison them, and then it's if they're not dead at that point, or not, about dead, but they're double poisoned, I'll then switch to Twin Spears. And this is not unique. This isn't a unique strategy. Lots of people in the community use it. I think Stielovsky's kind of who put it on the map, at least as far as I'm aware. That's who I got it from, so take that with a grain of salt. And it's like, don't get me wrong, I love the idea of having something to deal with laggy people, but it felt a little smarmy. And it's like, I get it. It does feel smarmy because you're using the Antspur Rapier, you're using poison, but it's like, how am I supposed to hit you? It's hard to compensate for that much latency. There's people who can do it, and one day I hope to do it, but at the moment, it's very hard for me to do. The thing I found out during this roar build is that I make trades, and because you make trades and you're kind of capitalizing on people being in the middle of their attacking animation when you hit them, I didn't need to worry about latency so much. I was able to hit people with trades, thanks to the roar build, who had 200, 250, 300 ping sometimes. And I wasn't I didn't need to switch to the poison setup just to finish somebody off. Now, I'm sure there are situations where it would have been helpful to do so, but it wasn't a requirement. And that felt nice. So I think of anything that the roar build does, even though it does immense damage, it can make the trades, it's very fun. I think its biggest thing is that if you make the trades, you don't have to worry about latency so much. Now, there's going to be exceptions. I'm sure that, say for the club that has a little 3-hit string as a part of its Barbaric Roar on the Stone Club, that if people have bad enough latency, they can roll out and not take the full 3-hit barrage. I'm sure that that's a thing. There are true combos you lose when people's latency are bad enough. I'm just saying for the normal bad latency, not the extremely bad, if I could even phrase it like that, I didn't need to use that poison light rapier into poison large rapier into double spears. That just, it didn't need to happen, and it felt nice. And I want to find out more setups that help you deal with people who have high latency that aren't necessarily the Ant Spur into Godskin Stitcher into Twin Spear kind of rot poison big damage setup. Not that that setup's bad, I would like to learn the other ones that are more honest. So if you yourself know of any setups that work with laggy people, let me know. I would love to know that stuff, because it's like normal hits, they can just kind of roll for ages. Good luck getting a parry to line up. It takes, you know, huge brain to get that to work. Let me know. I would love to hear them. I'm for exploring it. And so far it seems that roars, big heavy attacks and trades can work in, you know, more situations than I thought they would. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. I almost feel bad going on that tangent about trying to fight laggy people, because I've collected for you today some great clips. Like earlier in this very invasion, that double kill trade, that was tasty. I'm actually really proud of this one. It's a good setup. I know it's more the setup is good and less my skill, of course. But I still feel that these clips are remarkably clean, and the time to kill was relatively low, and that's usually how I know that I have a good setup, is that the clips I get for you tend to be shorter. So that's just a natural consequence of having a good kit. I feel like I don't run one-shot builds all that often, and so it's kind of surprising when I do. I don't know if one-shot feels correct. When I think of a one-shot, I think of one instance of damage kills somebody, right? And some people use one-shot to refer to one burst, I suppose. So I'm just going to say that this build has a lot of burst damage. I mean, take the Braggart's Roar on the Greatsword, for instance. If you land even the uncharged heavy, it combos into the light attack. And that is a lot of burst damage. I think it's a true combo. I believe it is. When I hit people squarely with it and they don't have incredibly high latency, I'm pretty certain they're basically trapped for it. And so you also have the halberd, you know. If you counter hit somebody during that fully charged heavy with the Braggart's Roar on the Knight Rider halberd, that can one-shot. I think you can use the follow-up heavy to roll catch people. I don't know if you just tap it. I don't know if you charge it. I haven't played with it too much. I had instances where I was using the halberd and it would tink off a wall but still kill the other guy, so I wasn't able to do a follow-up heavy or anything like that. Or it would just hit the other guy and tink, and then because it plinked off the wall is the word I should be using, it just wouldn't let me use the heavy afterwards. But look at this. Heavy, light, he's gone, and he built up a fair bit of bleed. I wonder how many people he had gotten like that, but the Mogwin Sacred Spear is not nearly as daunting as it once was. This build and my experience with it has inspired me. Oh, watch this. Plop, plop, plop. He's gone. I guess it was only 2 hits to finish him off, but still, being able to trade with the Ash of War on the Beast Claw Hammer, that's crazy. I think Prayerful Strike has a very similar animation. I wonder if Barbaric Roar, when it's in its hyper armor or armor state, if it can resist a Prayerful Strike. That would be worth looking into. But I was gonna say that this build has inspired me to want to put a Roar setup on every martial build I can. Maybe even the magical builds. I don't know if it'll be as useful then. But I would like to see what it looks like on a dex build. And you're like, what dexterity weapons would you run roars on? Well, I, for one, have seen one individual, and I've met them a few times. They like to be a dual host, where they run Barbaric Roar on the Nagakiba, the really long katana. And because the Nagakiba is, I guess, it's in the light class of weapons, so it gets the faster versions of certain Ashes of War, like Spinning Slash, like the Barbaric Roar R2, things like that. And I was thinking, well, the Nagakiba's really stupid long. It does good damage. It has bleed on it. You could run probably Lightning or Keen on that sucker with a dex build, along with Barbaric Roar. And I'm sure you could do a lot of damage. I don't know if the roar attacks necessarily need physical damage, so you might be able to get it to work with elemental damage as well. I'm curious to know how the Roar Medallion and the Highlander Axe buff elemental weapons, and it might be worth looking into because roars kind of count as a weapon buff. If you apply a roar and then you try to slather grease on your weapon, I'm pretty certain it gets rid of the roar. So having it be elemental might be a very good option. Unless you're running some sort of roar that does piercing, in which case you might want to stick with that pure physical, because that pierce damage will get a bonus if you trade into their hit and make them take that counter damage. Oh my goodness. This was a mean clip. I feel a little bad, but not too bad. They're meta level. They have gear. I was able to show up and bow them, and that was kind of the funny thing about running Starfist as the roar weapon, is the Starfist is lightweight, which means in my offhand, I could be a brainlet, not an offhand. In my secondary right hand slot, I could have small brain and just have a great bow and just swap to it and harass and back up and reorient myself and then take out Barbaric Roar, and I can make horrible decisions like attacking into a parry and make him regret it. I can just be bloodthirsty and have small brain and just out damage people very well and just chunk chunk chunk. Oh, it's so fun. I don't think it's a true combo with the Barbaric Roar on the Starfist like it is on the club, the Stone Club. But I think you can surprise people and definitely get off multiple hyper armor hits, so if they're trading into you, you can make them eat most of it. So, I need to play with it a little more. I feel like of all of the options I had, the Starfist with Barbaric Roar is the one I played with the least. But it's nice to have another option, because in my previous video about punching, the punch experience, which I came out some weeks, maybe months ago, I felt like the only options for punch weapons, at least on a strength build, it was like Storm Stomp, Endure, maybe Flaming Strike. I had a hard time finding other Ashes of War that were great, and I overlooked Roars. That's on me. My whole train of thought was just absolutely demolished because my father-in-law gifted to me on Steam Sekiro, which I've never played. I haven't played Sekiro. I still need to finish my other 2 playthroughs of Armored Core to, get all the endings. And so now I'm sitting here going, oh no, Sekiro's a little intimidating. That game's a little spooky. It's the very difficult FromSoft game to my understanding, and I need to play it. I have no excuses now. I need to get good. It'll be a good challenge for me. So if I had a thought I was working on, or leading up to, it's gone now. I can't remember. I've listened to the previous audio of this video. I have no idea where I was exactly leading to that. I think I may have finished my thought just in time. It surprised me because the gift came through on Steam and made a chirping noise in the middle of my recording. I was like, what was that? I didn't even realize my Steam noise was up. So funny little thing. But watch this. I know I've talked about how it feels like this is a one burst build where you can kill a lot of people in a single burst, but we're going to get a one shot. I know, spoilery, but I want you to see it in case I'm second monitor content and kablamzo, 1737 with a fully charged heavy. And once the host realizes the amount of danger he's in, he does the usual. And I will say, getting fog-walled is infinitely better than taking a loss. I don't know why. Even though it should be counted as a loss in my book, I think it's because I don't have to run and find my money, which I don't need the runes. I just feel like I want to have them so people don't think I'm horrible at the video game or something. I know I'm not good, but I would like you to think I'm average. Yeah. Just average. Average enough to keep my money, keep my runes. So this clip right here, this is not a demonstration of roars, unfortunately. This is a tower camper who just pops Endure and Twin Spears and just out DPS's whoever he's up against. Just kind of awful. He's just here sitting in Ronnie's rise. Ronnie wouldn't want this. She wouldn't want Tarnished fighting in her tower. But this guy's whole shtick is just Endure and monkey mash. And I tried to go in with a parry. Horrible idea. He's from China. I had like 300 ping. Feels bad. I don't know what was getting into my head. I just have a horrible time realizing what ping is in the moment, and I have to deal with it a few times till I understand. I'm bad at acclimating to the ping as I see the number as opposed to when it feels that way. Maybe it's because sometimes you fight somebody with 200 ping and they just don't dodge, so it doesn't matter. And then you fight people who are dodging all the time and they have 200-300 ping and it's just bad. So I'm here. I've tricked the host down the elevator shaft. I have this brain dead blue, thankfully. So I can just heavy mash in his face and take care of him. I'm able to heal up and prepare for the worst of it all. And so here he comes again. We get in a few attacks. We roll the bleed, another endure, more bleed on the fists, get in some trading, and then all the hits come and hit him, and he does the beautiful disconnect because he can't handle his own shameful display. But I thank you for joining me today. It was a good romp. I very much enjoyed the Roar build. I'm going to try to throw a Roar setup on more of my Martial builds, maybe more of the other builds as well. I think it's a very strong setup, and it's useful to have a trading option for those laggy people. Did you see that? Run it back. I switched targets and clipped the host, ending his life. I'll see you next time.